welcome to the podcast, Kristina Cosmic Butterfly. I'm very excited for our conversation today.
And me as well. Thank you for
Nice.
having me on.
You're very welcome. So I always start off with just your story. So how did you get to where you are today and kind of your journey here?
Yeah, so my story, oh gosh, I feel like it's always the same story. This is my lore. So it started off with essentially what kickstarted my whole spiritual journey was the passing of my partner quite a few years back. I think it's going on 6 or 7 years now. And that really jolted me into the whole spiritual awakening. It was a really, really big loss for me. And so I started questioning everything and wondering about everything. And shortly thereafter, I started experiencing a lot of what people can call paranormal activity. And it was like very blatantly obvious him trying to get my attention. Photos of him would fall over, posters, he'd show up in dreams. I'd have songs of him popping up on me. And I was already kind of very open-minded to that whole thing. Up till that point, I didn't really have any kind of spiritual, I didn't really pay attention to my gifts. Looking back now, I think I had them all the time, but they didn't really start to scream at me until that point. So from there, I ended up taking some mediumship classes, and that is what led me here today. That really opened the door to all of my gifts and the whole path, manifestation, healing, all of it. So that's where it took off.
I'm curious about the classes. Was it like something local, like a group kind of work or online? Yeah.
So
Okay.
I was very fortunate to have found a local class near me. And I think back then, either I wasn't really looking in the right places, but it didn't seem as big, I think before 2020. And I had tried to read some books about it. I had tried to do some YouTube videos about it, and it really wasn't like working so much for me. And I just felt really called to find a group. So what I ended up doing is, at least over here in the States, we have this app called Meetup.
Yeah,
And
we have that.
so, okay, great. Yeah, I don't know if people are familiar with that, but I ended up searching mediumship on there. And I found quite a few. A lot of them were online, but there was one that was in a city kind of local to where I was. And I had no idea that it was local to me.
Right.
But I kept, there was a vision of a big there was like a big blue butterfly as the logo for the
I like
class, which
that.
I know now it's kind of funny.
Hmm.
And I had waved it off initially, but then I think a couple days later, I just kept thinking about it. And I was like, you know what? Let me see where this city is. And it turns out it was actually about an hour drive away from me. So I was like, okay, I'm going. And yeah, it was just hosted out of this teacher's home. It was hosted out of this teacher's home. And it was just a small group of 7 of us who showed up, who were all very like, it was our first time doing anything in person. So we were all like, oh, are you here for the mediumship class? Yeah, it was great. So the beautiful thing about it was, I mean, I was going into it and I told my teacher, I was like, I don't think I have any magical powers. I'm just here to see what will happen.
Yeah.
I lost someone very dear to me and I just want to see if I can connect to them myself. And everybody was a different level in this class. I mean, there was a couple of us who were like brand new and a few people who already had some kind of gifts going on. They were pretty familiar with them. I really, really loved the group setting. I thought that I got so much out of it because when you're there in person, even virtually, you still experience this, but in person, it's very palpable. The change in atmosphere, you know, just seeing people's body language change when they start to bring spirit through. And also the community aspect is just completely priceless. You know, you can't get that just going out on the journey on your own when you actually connect with people. Just beautiful, magical, miraculous things happen.
All about
So
connection.
that's how it was.
Yeah, nice. Okay, so tell me what you do currently, because I know your yoga and then the mediumship. How do you blend the two, or what is it exactly that you kind of put out there?
It's a little bit of everything depending on the need of the person, I like to say. So yes, I'm teaching yoga right now. And I think that my teachings, at least for me, tend to gear more towards the spiritual aspect of it. I mean, it's inherently a spiritual practice, but I definitely bring in more of the feeling, the getting quiet, the going inward, the really connecting with your body, not just as a physical practice, not just to get sweaty but to really tune into what you're sensing. You know, a lot of people do have that mediumship ability. I mean, everybody does, but I almost feel like yoga can bring it out even more because you become
Mm,
more aware of how you're feeling when you
right.
become a bit more still and quiet. And so, what I tend to do with my clients, I mean, I have a lot of clients coming to me for mediumship readings, intuitive readings, and then for yoga as well. And I really just use both to kind of tune in to see what people need. So if someone's coming to me for yoga and, you know, they're experiencing a lot of anxiety or turmoil in their life, the physical practice of it obviously helps. I kind of see like, okay, what you need. Do you need
Right.
to have a little bit more fire in your practice to burn off any kind of stress, or do you need to kind of get a little bit more quiet and slower so that you can actually see more clearly what it is that's going on with you? And I kind of do blend the two together, but I haven't figured out a way to like do a reading in the middle of a yoga session. Right now, they're
Mm,
kind of separate in that way. But aside from that, I also do a lot of art. I'm an artist, and I just recently started getting back into my channeled paintings, which are so, they're my favorite. They're so incredible. I decided to offer these a couple years back, and they really are just channeled paintings. So I,
mm,
you know, would tune into my clients who wanted these commissions, and I would just meditate for probably, gosh, I don't know, maybe like 30 minutes to an hour and write down and like quickly sketch out everything that would come through for them in this meditation. It was really a ceremony though, like I did the whole
yeah.
thing.
Interesting.
Everything that came through was kind of erratic in a way. Like I'd have some plants show up, and then a weird scene of like a black hole would show up, or then like a Hindu goddess would pop into my mind, and I would just take it all down.
Mm,
And at the end of the ceremony, I would look at all my notes and I'd be like, okay, how can I paint all of this together in a cohesive
cool.
way? And I will say some of these paintings that I made were so special. I still think about them to this day. And a lot of the people who ordered them, I gave them the option. I can either show you the progress as I'm working on it, or it can be a total surprise. Most of them opted for total surprise.
Right.
So then when it was received, and I would do like a little written reading for them as well with the painting, and they were like, oh my gosh, like this is so like beautiful. It's so me. It's so my style. And like the little things that came through resonated for them.
Nice.
And yeah, I'm definitely trying to bring those back right now. I'm working on a new
Yeah.
one, and very creative in all senses of my path, I think.
How about growing up? Were you spiritual as a child or connected in any way? How has your family taken this?
So growing up, I didn't have a spiritual upbringing at all. There was no religion in my family, so we were just kind of average in that sense. No, like I didn't have I didn't see things as a child as far as I know. Didn't say any weird stuff. I was very sensitive, definitely. I took things very personally. I was very sensitive to like any kind of change in energy, if people raised their voice, if people were being mean, or if it was very overstimulating and loud. Definitely looking back. And I was very, very clairsentient, which is like I would pick up physical sensations a lot. So I do very vividly remember as a child just going about through life. I'd walk into a room or an area. I remember going through a cemetery at one point, and ironically, I actually felt extremely peaceful. And that
Hmm.
memory has been with me like the rest of my life, is just walking through the
Hmm.
cemetery and vividly feeling so much peace.
Hmm.
I think probably due to
That's
all the
positive.
flowers. Yeah, it's a good type of cemetery feeling and things like that. But to be quite honest, my family still to this day doesn't really understand. They're not
Yeah.
very open to it. They're very traditional. We're of Slavic descent. Ironically, you think we would have more spiritual practices,
Yeah.
but we do, my grandparents especially, they do a lot of folksy kind of stuff. Like I got sick one time and my grandma did this whole lemon concoction and then rubbed my feet with it. So I think that's to the extent of any kind of spirituality, but they're very much like, don't bother the dead, don't
Right.
do any of that.
Ah.
And so it's funny, I'm the cycle breaker here. I'm the one who like comes bursting
Yeah.
through with all of this.
Nice. What is your ideal client?
Ideal client, somebody who's just willing to be open-minded to the help they want, the help they need. But realistically, I have so many so many different people who have come to me. I'm like, oh, you're my ideal. Oh, you're my ideal. But really, I think it's just anyone who is open to trying something a little unorthodox. I know a lot of
Mhm.
people come and they're like, I think this is what I need. I think I just need a reading to tell me how to get from point A to point B. And what tends to come through is a lot more magic. This is what you should consider pursuing. You should look into going back to your art. You
Oh,
need to. A lot of my work tends to bring up empowerment in clients of like, it's not just giving them the answer, but it also teaches them how to find it for themselves. So I think that's really important in my ideal client is someone who's willing to also find that in themselves, find
yeah.
how to do something themselves, because that's really how my path started is me
Right.
wanting to figure out how can I do mediumship for myself. I also really, really love, just as a side note, I love complete beginners who also have never had any kind of experience or not too much,
Mhm.
and it just opens the door to them. And it's so fun seeing people grow and go from, I don't know if I can do this, I don't know if I'm getting anything. And in like 3 sessions, they're bringing through spirit, they're bringing through all this stuff. It's just a willingness to trust yourself and
Yeah.
to, I think most importantly, be open to practicing. I think
Right.
that's it too. Even with yoga, people who are just open to practicing, maybe they're not perfect off the get-go, and really who is, but as long as you're open to practicing and getting it wrong a couple of times and getting back up and trying again, that's perfection to me, right?
When I work with my own clients, I often recommend yoga because yoga and trauma kind of go hand in hand
Mm-hmm.
in finally giving people that choice, the opportunity to choose how deep they go into poses or if they're even going to do it and how they breathe. And it also builds that connection of the body and the
Mm-hmm.
mind and the spirit. And it really helps kind of integrate those connections
Right.
into their life. So that's what's coming up for me as you were speaking about yoga and mediumship, because it's all about connection, right?
Mm.
So I don't know if you want to speak on that or if anything comes up for you when I say that, but
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we briefly touched on this when we first initially
I think
connected,
so.
is the yoga has actually helped to heal me in so many ways. Funny enough, the little backstory to this for the listeners is that I had gone through some really severe burnout last year to the point
Mm,
where my body started physically showing symptoms. I would get nerve pain. I started experiencing panic attacks. Um, Lots of physical stress showing up in my body, just tension. And this was very uncommon for me. I had never before had
mm,
any kind of pattern of this happening at all. So I knew that this was stress
yeah.
impacting me. And I, just had no idea. Not that I had no idea, but it got to the point where I was just sitting there in meditation crying. And I was like, what do I do? What do I do? It hurts. I'm stressed. I'm waking up feeling anxious already.
Mm,
I'm going to bed feeling anxious. And it was just driving me bananas. And so in my meditation, I actually had a guide come through, and it's funny, I call him Chill Yogi Guide because he
huh,
always recommends yoga, and he recommended yoga. And he's like, practice every day, hold
mm,
your poses every day, release what your body is holding. And I saw this vision in my meditation of this hard outer shell, like hunching my shoulders
yeah.
inward, and the shell breaking off and me opening up and feeling lighter and
Mm,
better. And so what I understood that is to do yoga. Do yoga and release all this stuff that I've accumulated on me because of all the stress from my job and family and everything that was going on at that time. And so what my yoga looked like from that point on, I definitely was not doing heavy hot power sculpt yoga.
right.
I would just do the gentle twists and hold them. and just sit there for maybe like a minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, and just start crying. And, I
Mm.
would like just bend my neck gently, left ear to my left shoulder, and just hold that. And then I'd feel, I'd just get still, and then I'd just feel emotions start coming up and just release. And that's what it looked like for a good, I think I probably did that for about 2 weeks before I started feeling like I'm feeling less anxious. I'm feeling lighter.
Yeah.
It started to kind of all come out. And it was a really beautiful experience because it proved to me the psychosomatic connection of you do carry emotion and memory
Hmm.
and trauma in your body. And adding that physical aspect to it moves it out.
Yes.
And I think that's where there's a big disconnect. I think we're moving more into this direction, but at least historically, there's been a disconnect of separating mind and body.
Yeah.
But really, it should be everything. It should be
Especially us
connected.
in the Western. Yeah. We're
Yeah,
trained to
absolutely.
disconnect, right? Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, you can see it in, I think, a majority of therapists today
Hmm.
do kind of focus just on the mind
Yeah.
and just mental therapy. But I really feel like a mix of both would be so much more beneficial to a lot of
Yeah.
people.
I'm constantly saying how mental therapy is just crap, honestly. Because and I think I used to actually give just the mental piece. But I always found even doing that, I would go towards how are you feeling and what's happening in your body before I even understood what that was. But now that I understand what it is, if I have a client and all they want to do is vent, I'm like, I'm the wrong person for you because that's just a waste of both of our time
Yeah.
and my skills. So, what about your non negotiables for your day? Can you not start or go through a day without doing?
Yoga in the morning.
Hmm.
And even though it's a non negotiable, there are days where I skip it. And those days I feel a significant difference.
Yeah.
I don't do a whole crazy 1 hour thing, although I wish I had the time for that. Lately, it's just been like a 20-minute practice at most. Just some simple stretches, some
Yeah.
easy sun salutations, boom, go on with my day. So that's a big non negotiable. I also always have to go for a walk,
Hmm.
either after work, after my day job, um, or in the evening after any kind of spiritual work, most definitely. And so this again ties back into movement and
Mm.
physically moving your body. I notice it's a beautiful way to transition from one thing to another throughout your day, is to kind of have a little break for some fresh air, go outside. Um, Especially after any kind of spiritual work, because a lot of it is mental. It is like tuning in and
Yeah.
feeling things and processing emotionally. And so going for a walk, especially after a client reading, which I do all the time, helps to bring me back down and move and
Hmm.
kind of work it out of my body. So those are my two big ones, and I will never say no to a non-negotiable cup of tea.
Lovely. Do you
Gotta
like
have your
herbal
cup of
tea?
tea.
Herbal?
I do. I
Yeah.
can't do the caffeine anymore. I wish I
Yeah.
could. I think this is the one trade-off of being sensitive, at least for me. I know a lot of people
Hmm.
still do, and like I wish I was still there, but I can't. So I do the herbal. I do a lot of chamomile, honeybush
Yeah.
tea is my favorite right now, and green tea is fine, but the
Yeah.
black tea and the coffee mess me up.
Couldn't go without my coffee now. But I didn't actually start drinking it till I was like 35. And then now I'm like hardcore coffee.
Man, I still do, but now I'm a decaf girl. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
and people will look at me like, "Why do you do this?" And I'm like, there's still caffeine in it, just enough
Yeah.
for me."
Yeah. What was in my brain? There we go. ADHD. How what's your take on it? I'm trying to integrate the perfect question for ADHD with all my helping professionals, but I haven't really found it yet. So right now it's just, what is your take on ADHD?
Man, I have so many friends who have ADHD, and it's one of those things that even I don't have a very straight answer of like how to, I don't know if it's like support it or manage it. I think with ADHD, it's just a mind that wants to do all things all at once.
I like
I
that.
definitely think it's a more challenging uh, it's a more challenging attribute to have in your life, definitely. And I do think that it, oh, in my very grounded perspective, what would help is to try and introduce a bit more structure with it.
Right.
It is challenging when your mind wants to do all the things all the time and you have the energy for it. That's the beautiful thing, is those with ADHD have the energy to do everything. And I think what would definitely support the wanting to do everything is to have a groundwork laid out of what to do in
Right.
the day.
Yeah.
Because it's very easy to get distracted with a mind that wants to jump around all the time, and you kind of lose your train of thought and then start a new one, and then you forget you had like 10 trains back there behind you. And
You
so
should
that's
see my
always like,
browser right now. I have about
yeah, there you go.
50 tabs open on each window. Like I have 4 or 5 windows. Yeah.
See, I
I
feel
get
like
it.
I can't think when I have so much open. And yeah, like one of my best friends, he's like super ADHD, just has his hands busy with everything.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm the one who's always reminding him, like, did you film a new episode for your podcast? How is it going?
Yeah.
Did you work on this? And he's like, oh, yeah. And so, I really feel like just trying to bring that structure, it's not an easy thing. It's not an easy thing for anyone, I think, like trying to do like time management. But I feel like that's definitely a way to support it. Because I don't feel like that's something that needs to be stamped out of people necessarily.
Right.
I feel it's more so like, you came into this life with everything that you have going on for a purpose, whether it be to challenge yourself, to learn from it, or to learn how to manage it. And so I definitely think a more supportive way to go about it is the way to go about it.
Always about accepting all parts of ourselves, right? So
yeah,
what
absolutely.
would you say is your biggest challenge?
My biggest challenge? Oof, I have so many. This whole path has taught me I have many challenges, which is, a good thing. For me, I think I would say the biggest one, at least coming up right now, is just accepting the level that I'm at and being happy with it as it progresses. And I am the type of person who is constantly trying to work to better myself and think, it's an artist's mind. You're never done.
Yeah, the criticism.
Yeah, exactly. And, I look back and I'm like, oh, I could have done this better. I should have done that. And I think more specifically is I should already be good at stuff that I haven't even practiced that long.
So you should all over yourself.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. And I think that's a big lesson for me in this life, is showing myself grace and being happy with the progress I have made and being okay with the fact that I'll be better in time. That's the whole point. So
nice.
I can say that's mine.
What is the one message that you would give the world if you could, in a couple sentences?
Give the whole world. That's such a big question. And let me see. And this may sound a bit cliche, but I feel like connect to your heart. Listen to your heart. And for a lot of people, it's just like, listen to your heart. Okay, follow the romance that I have in my life kind of thing. But really, it's, if your heart wants to do poetry, do poetry.
Right.
Do you have to quit your entire job and run off to another country and start from the ground up in being a famous poet? Maybe, not necessarily, but you could still write your poems on the side. You could still go to those like poetry clubs in the evenings and just follow your heart, because I feel like when you do, and it's not the logical thing to do, follow your heart. A lot of what the heart wants is not always logical. But when you do follow it, magical things happen. And that's where you find a lot of fulfillment, I think. So that would be my message.
Beautiful. What about, I'm thinking of your mediumship. Have you ever had anything, I don't know, what is the most memorable for you in that kind of side of things? Is there something that comes to mind?
I love that you say that, because one of my teachers always tells us, like, always write down the readings and the moments you have where it's so undeniably real and everyone has a shocked face and they're like, wow, that's so true. Because those are the moments that make it all worth it and just prove to yourself that you're not, off your rocker. I had so many brilliant ones. And just as many not brilliant ones. Let me see. There was one that I actually had while reading this very lovely lady. We were just practicing, and all I remember is I was connecting to who I believe was her mom, but she didn't tell me who she was when the presence came through. I was just feeling like a very soft, nurturing feeling. And suddenly I kept picturing myself with these, because I asked her, like, oh, like, where are you now? Because, everyone's curious, like, okay, what are you doing out there on the other side now? And she was showing me she was sitting, I kept picturing like a little French bistro, like with the little red and
Oh,
white thing over the
yeah.
cafe.
Oh, yeah, I can picture it.
And I've never been to France, but,
Mm.
in all the movies, like what I picture France to be. And I'm like, I keep seeing her at this like cute little bistro with the little coffees and, like pastries and all that. And it turns out that her daughter, who I was doing the reading for, she had just came home. She had just come home from a trip from France for 3 weeks. She was there for like a whole month. And she was in Paris, actually. And I just remember I got this chill going through my body, and I was like, oh my gosh. And I was here like, I think I'm seeing France, but I don't know. I just keep seeing her at the cute cafe. Yeah. And it was funny because she was like, oh, like my mom was telling me she was there with me. And I just thought that was so, so special and so sweet. And I've had other ones. Another really memorable one was one of my clients. He had a really big message. One of his guides came through, and I forget what his question was exactly, but it was something big about like why he's here, why he's experiencing what he experiences, why he feels so deeply, or like is always searching for answers. And one of his guides came through and just told him, you chose the life that you wanted. You have all of the answers. You just need to ask yourself. Which I guess if you're, if you're not familiar, you'd be like, oh, that's a cop out of an answer. But
Yeah.
it was truly meant for him to stop asking outward and start asking himself.
Inward, yeah.
Yeah. And there is a huge difference in, again, it comes back to the empowerment aspect, because when you feel like everybody else has the answer except for you, you do feel a bit disempowered and you feel like you don't know. But when you come up with your own answer and you know what's going on inside of you, there's a sense behind it that feels more fortified.
Yeah.
Where
It's so powerful.
Exactly. And there's less doubt. Because when someone else tells you something, you're like, oh, are you sure?
Right.
But when you figure it out for yourself, there's a huge difference in the way that you believe it.
Yeah. The kind of therapy I do is called, I don't know if I mentioned this, but it's called brain spotting. I always plug it on the episodes because it's so powerful. But the whole premise is that your brain knows where to take you to heal. So although I'm supporting the person and I'm kind of guiding them and I integrate different modalities with it, brain spotting, the whole premise is that you find the spot to look that connects to that spot in your brain to rewire whatever you need to or to expand what you need to, because your brain knows how to heal. So it's just about trusting yourself and following the process. Yeah, it's so powerful to heal internally.
Isn't that quite incredible? Like the brain is just literally a super engine, and there's so much of it that it's funny because the brain like knows of itself, but there's so much that we still don't yet know of how it processes things. And like what this is like my question. I always think about this, and I really hope that at some point there's more research that's done in this area. But what is physiologically happening when someone is tuning in spiritually? That I really am so curious. And I don't know if you're familiar with Tyler Henry. I guess I'll name drop him here. He's a really famous medium out here in the West. Super young. I think he's like 28 or something. But he does like celebrity readings, so he's kind of a popular icon. And they actually did hook him up to like a brain scan. Bless him for being open for this. They did hook him up, and I think there's videos out there on YouTube where people can watch if they're curious. When he started doing a reading with this, like being hooked up and all that, his brainwaves started showing that he was actually entering a deep state of sleep, but he was fully aware and fully awake. And he was, there interacting and doing this reading. And so they were perplexed about it because they're like, how is this happening when he's fully conscious? And so I'm so curious to find out more about like, how is it actually picking this up? Like
Yes.
where's the bridge between the physical and the metaphysical?
Yeah. Well, EMDR, which is another form of trauma therapy, is entering into the bilateral stimulation or circadian rhythm, right? So that's how
Yeah.
you heal, is when you're in that stage, which is also when we're asleep. That's how our whole body resets, right?
Hmm.
One of the other questions I always ask, because you brought up Tyler Henry, is who are your main kind of go to mentors?
Oh, yes. First and foremost, not physical, but spirit. The spirit's my biggest teacher.
Yep.
And everyone's biggest teacher, I think, if we all
Yeah.
just tune in and listen. Physically, though, I would say probably my first teacher, who unfortunately is now passed on. And it's funny because he still shows up for me. But he was definitely like my first role model who I really looked up to, just the biggest heart of gold, and really taught me about compassion and being gentle with myself.
Good.
Yeah, that was a big one.
Yeah.
Compassion for others, but also he left me with a really great gem, which is whenever I'd be hard on myself for not being great immediately within the first like 3 weeks of learning, he'd ask me, "How long have you been doing this for?" 3 weeks. And he's like, "Exactly."
Yeah.
And I would also say right now, one of my biggest mentors, well, I've had quite a few teachers. Oh man, I have so many. I'm trying to think. My biggest two, I would say, is one of my most recent teachers. Her name's Lori Albert. She's also really big into mediumship and helping to empower new students, especially. And I'd say Tony Stockwell as well, who's also quite a big name. He's more famous on like the British end of things. He's from the
Hmm.
UK. He does tour all around the world, but his style of mediumship is very, very out of the box, which I
Okay.
love. And he talks about how a lot of modern day mediumship stems from a very Christian spiritualist tradition. So it's very, step one, step two, step three, okay, close the reading. And it follows this very strict, you open, you get the evidence, you get the message, and you're done. Whereas from what I've been learning from him is you don't need to follow any sort of rule set. This is
No.
your gift.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah, everybody's gift is meant to be unique and individual. And if what comes through is the message before the evidence, that's fine, because the message is oftentimes the evidence. You don't have to start off saying, I have a man, I have a woman. You can start off by whatever they want to show you first.
Hmm.
And at the end of the day, this one really struck me, is that your mediumship will just happen. You
Yes.
just have to show up for it. You don't necessarily have to drive, and I think that goes for anyone's natural gift. You don't always have to drive how it happens. You just have to be there and show up for it.
Trust the process.
Exactly.
Yeah. Have you ever heard of Sean Leonard?
Sean Leonard, no.
Yeah,
Actually,
check him out. He's an indigenous spirit medium. So he's written a couple books through Hay House. I'm hoping to have him on here soon. But
oh,
yeah,
yeah, that
yeah,
would be a great episode. I'll have
yeah.
to look him up, definitely.
Another one that I feel, because when you were talking about the brain and what they study, Joe Dispenza,
Mhm.
he's not mediumship, but he's spiritual and
Yes,
meditation.
yes.
And they have done some studies on the brain during meditation and stuff. It's pretty cool.
I think he has a book too. I forget what it's
Oh, he has a
called.
couple.
I think it's like Supernatural or like Becoming.
Becoming Supernatural.
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
We had talked when we first met, and no pressure, about you doing like a sort of a reading online or with me. What are your thoughts on that? How are you feeling right now?
Yeah, let's go for it. Let's try it
Okay.
out and see what happens.
All right. What is your process? How do you need a few moments of silence, or what do you do?
Yeah, so let me just guide us through a quick
Okay.
little grounding, and I do this for everyone, and it really just helps to set the tone for us to be present and just kind of settled, because it's always
Yeah.
exciting to be like, oh, a reading. I don't know what will
Woohoo.
happen. And really, your job is to just sit back and relax.
Okay.
And yeah, I'll quickly connect and see who wants to come through.
Okay.
And we will see what happens. If it's someone who you can validate, great. If it's a spirit guide who you've never met, then great. They still want to show up. So we're just going to be open.
Okay. Fair.
All right. So if I can have you take a nice full breath, and exhale, let it go. And just relax your face, relax your jaw, give your shoulders a little shimmy, just to really let the body know we're here, we're now, and we are settling. Maybe give your toes a little wiggle as well. And from here, just bring your awareness over to your heart space. You can even place your hand on your heart. And it's in this space I'd like to invite you to just cultivate a feeling of gratitude or love or joy. And this is the energy that draws spirit in closer. Really, it's the energy that draws all of us in closer. We're just going to allow that to be our welcoming invite to your guides and loved ones in spirit, whoever want to come through for you today to serve your greatest need. And with that, one more full deep breath and let it go. Okay, and give me just one moment to see who would like to show up. And I may pause here and there. I tend to be one of those people who likes to listen before I open my mouth and say what they're giving me. Okay. Change of atmosphere. I do feel bigger presence just stepped in. I do feel like this individual is coming through as they seem like a guide for you, but they're showing me very, very tall, which usually signifies that they're a very advanced and wise being. So I'm going to say that this is a guide, although we'll see what they show me as we move through this. So what they're showing me here, and they're coming through as a man, very, very tall man. He's showing me a bald head. And so I feel like he wants to talk about the mind. He wants to talk about, he does want to talk about the mind, and the wisdom of the mind is what he's showing me. And it's funny because I feel like he's wearing this like really long robe. And again, they tend to do that when they're bringing through some kind of higher knowledge. And so this one in particular, he's showing me on a desk. I feel like it's different scrolls, but I feel like there's a lot of writing, and he's showing me I keep feeling scrolls specifically on like old paper, and I'm getting this sense of studying late by the fire, if that makes sense. Like he's showing me this scene of kind of like, I forget what the word is, but being hunched over a desk and almost like writing with a quill in these scrolls. Wow. Being studious and studying. And I feel like this is supposed to kind of reflect you in a way. We'll see where this goes though, but he's showing me this image of essentially being extremely dedicated to the pursuit of knowledge and gathering wisdom. And who knows, this may even resonate with the audience as well. This could be like a collective message. But this is what he's showing me is the gathering of knowledge. And he's also showing me, he's giving me the word discovery, specifically in regards to, I feel a sense of pondering. And he's showing me a scene of when you're sitting there and you're posing questions and thought and even like hypothetically, and then wondering about what could be the explanation, what could be the answer for this. This is what he's bringing up, is that feeling of still trying to discover answers to questions that don't yet have any or don't have a full scope of understanding. He's my AI guide. Are you into that? Because I'm not really about the chat GPT over here. No, it's becoming my assistant. Okay, that makes sense. Let's see where he goes. So now he's showing me this, I'm feeling the sense of that he's bringing through here, a feeling of, and I feel like he's talking more about you in this case, this feeling of, and I feel like this has to do with your work, is he's showing me this image of you again, like also kind of looking down at, I don't want to say paper, not literally, but it's like material. And now he's showing me a book. Like, oops, books. There it goes again. And trying to also he's showing me a circle. So it's like you're trying to bring together like a more fuller scope, I think, or something coming to a circle. Because he keeps creating this for me. Okay. Where else is he going? Would this make any sense to you? He's showing me that for you, it's like you read something or you gather some kind of new knowledge, and something about it, it's almost like you're kind of cross-referencing it to other stuff that you've read, and you're wondering how it, I'm getting this like you're trying to figure out like how does this piece add into the ones I already know kind of feeling.
Maybe. I'm actually writing another book. It could be that. It's like a journal though, but it's based on, it came to me, this Mayan calendar. So it's a
Uh-huh.
journal for every day, but I'm incorporating like the universal principles and manifestation into it.
Oh, okay. Well,
That's
that
what's coming to
explains
mind.
why. That's why he keeps showing me books. It's like I
Yeah, yeah,
keep
yeah.
seeing
Because it's like all
books.
these different pieces that is going into it. But it's also for people to physically answer questions and prompts and
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah,
maybe.
let's ask him about that because
Okay.
I like to throw in your questions and like
Hmm.
what's coming up for you and see how they want to respond to that. So what does he have about this journal that you're writing? Oh, he just perked up. He's like, "Oh, the
So
journal."
maybe that is it.
Okay, yeah. Okay, so about this works we have for you. Okay, so there's quite a few different things that are going on here. I'm trying to piece together. He is showing me this is coming out of your heart for sure because he's
Yeah.
showing me like this is coming out like from like your core being, and it's like you creating this thing to put out there. And I do feel this sense like when he's showing me the project of the journal, like his what he showed, like his perspective. So this is not like yours, but like his specifically is the way that he's looking at it. First of all, he thinks it's great. And he thinks it's great because when he's looking at it, he's like, this is very, I don't know if anything has been necessarily like been done like this before, but he likes that it feels very unique. And he's showing, okay, he's looking at it. I almost get the sense that there's still something in it or still something about it that either needs like some tweaking or no, not even tweaking, but I think like something supplemental. Like obviously, I'm assuming it's not quite done, but I
Yeah.
feel this sense that because he's feeling like, let me see, what is it that he's bringing? I'm curious because he keeps pointing like outward. So
Hmm.
I am not familiar with like the Mayan calendar or astrological anything, but there's definitely still something that needs to be almost clarified in a sense in regards to, I don't know, is there something in this journal that has to do with like the placements of, I don't know if it's like planetary, but it seems like more understanding like of how the the time like shifts, or I'm really trying because
That
he's showing.
kind of would make sense because I'm learning as I go. Like I've always been fascinated with it, but I am
Mhm.
learning as I go about the calendar and the different names and all the meanings. But I'm only halfway done. Like I'm not even halfway, really.
Okay, yeah. He's still, yeah, he's clarifying that like there's still more like understanding of like breaking it down how the concepts, and see it's hard for me to explain because I don't have like a really good frame of reference for what he's trying to show me, but like how the calendar works, like the time shifts, and like specifically breaking it down in a more digestible and understandable way. I
Ah,
think that's
okay.
what he's specifically showing because it's like there's this complexity of the whole system that he's pointing like above my head, and then he's showing me like as you bring it down like through the journal and through the
Yeah.
book, it almost becomes so much easier. Well, it does, it becomes so much easier to understand. And he's showing me like a children's book, and you know how easy those are to read.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And not saying you have to make it like a children's
Yeah.
edition, but in a way that makes it very easy to understand and be like,
Okay.
okay, I see how the concepts work
Hmm,
now.
I like that.
So that's what he's bringing through. Let me see if there's anything else he'd like to share. Okay. So I would like you at this point just to invite you to close your eyes and breathe with me and see what his last message is. So we'll see the two of us connecting to him. So now we are a trio in spirit. And so what he would like to bring through as his final message here. And again, he's got this like really wise and peaceful presence. Like he's not in a hurry to figure things out. He's not in a hurry to he's not pushed by stress or time or any of that. And it just seems like his presence is coming through so strong with just the feeling of just being in the present moment and knowing that all comes to you in the time it comes, not a moment too late, not a moment too soon. And then another message he's bringing through for us here. I'm feeling this sense of pressure that he's talking about, this pressure of, I want to say it's the pressure of being hard on ourselves, and also the pressure of, I feel like, being hard on ourselves and pushing against the natural rhythm and timing of what's meant to occur in our lives, and allowing ourselves instead to be more open to allowing the experiences that we are in to unfold naturally, to unfold in their own time. And specifically, he's showing me here this sense of really forcing ourselves hard, to force ourselves to shape ourselves in a way that we're not quite ripe yet.
Mhm.
He keeps showing me this sense of like you're forcing something to ripen before its due time. And that creates a lot of stress when you're telling the fruit to hurry up and ripen. He keeps showing me a pear. And he's saying here the fruit becomes much more satisfying and succulent and enjoyable when you allow it to ripen naturally in the time it is meant to. Because he's showing me here there's a very evenly paced flow that he really wants to stress, is an evenly paced flow. There's he's showing me these wheels spinning super, super fast, like in the cartoons.
Yeah.
And he's like, we constantly are trying to like kick it into high gear and have it go faster and faster. And he's showing me this sense of like breathing and moving at an even pace, moving with the flow of things, how they naturally occur. It's really interesting that he brings that up, because I also feel this sense of like, I'm getting this sensation he's giving me of like, there's no timing. Like, there's no timing.
So that is my biggest thing, that I just have no time. I have no time to do this. I have no time to do that. And then I'm like, so it's actually my biggest challenge. You know, I ask, what's your biggest challenge? My biggest challenge is finding.
Oh my gosh, that is so funny.
Yeah. Yeah. It is. Yeah, there's no time. I never have time.
Yeah, I feel like that was like the biggest thing he wanted to bring through, is like the pacing and the timing, and just being mindful of allowing ourselves to be in that space so that we don't cause any extra stress that we don't need to experience. And it's funny because now he's showing me like a lot of different activities around either you or me, but he's showing me like different activities around, and it's like you can take on whichever ones you want to take on, because he is showing me there is a lot to be done and a lot to do, but it doesn't always have to be everything all at once. And he's showing me it's like you can split them into different days, if that makes sense. Well, then we go back to the structuring things.
Yes. That's so cool.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think that is it from him. He's giving me a little nod.
Okay.
So I will let him go and thank him for dropping off some great nuggets of wisdom and messages. Hopefully that all of us needed to hear. And let's just take a nice deep breath, ground ourselves back in. Exhale, let it go. Shimmy our shoulders, wiggle our toes, coming back to that sense of joy and gratitude and thanks, knowing that all that was received here will serve our highest need, and that we are always able to connect to this space whenever we want, whenever we become silent, and whenever we make time for it. And so it is.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, you're very welcome.
Beautiful. I'm actually wondering if you want me to help you figure out how to integrate mediumship into yoga with a quick brain spot when we're done this call. Would you?
Ooh,
are you interested?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Before we do that, though, I'll close. Where can people find you?
So super easy. My website is just KristinaCosmicButterfly.com. On YouTube, it's the same, Kristina Cosmic Butterfly. And on Instagram, it's _ Cosmic Butterfly. So feel
Okay.
free to reach out and send me a message. My email is on there as well. I'm always open to hearing people like reach out. And even if it's not something I can help with, I love to suggest like, oh, I think this resource would be really great for you
Yes.
and things like that. So yeah.
Beautiful. Is there anything that we missed or that you would like to say that we didn't cover?
I think we went all around the board.
I think so
So
too.
I think it was
Around the
great.
circle.
Thank you so much.
Beautiful. Thank you so much.